Read the disclaimer. Doofus. And please contact us through this email address with questions or fan art. Thank you for your support.
A trend that I've noticed with the Studio Series and Generations lines is that the less screen time a character gets, the better that figure tends to turn out. Key example, Studio Series Blitzwing and Generation Select's Rotorstorm. Blitzwing was on screen for all of 5 minutes, and Rotorstorm has only appeared in comics, so I guess there's some kind of a rule going on there? Unfortunately, there are some exceptions to this rule, such as Earthrise Double Dealer. But apart from that, we tend to get a lot of great figures of some really obscure forms and characters. Salutations, denizens of the internet. I'm Firebite27, and let us commence our analysis of Transformers Studio Series Bumblebee Movie Off-Road Bumblebee.
Okay, I know hyper-realistic sponsored vehicle modes is Studio Series' shtick, but holy crap, this is amazing. Like I've said before, I'm not usually one for militaristic alternate modes, but this is really good. This is some damn good shit right here, my fellows. Like, one of the many perks of the Studio Series is that it gives us licensed vehicle alternate modes, but as far as those are concerned, I feel as though this is the peak of realistic interpretations of licensed vehicle modes. However, this vehicle mode feels like it's on a whole other level relative to every other realistic licensed vehicle mode in the line. But to be perfectly honest, it could just be because this vehicle mode actually has an interior. Now then, of course, I know Transformers don't really do interiors, especially not after alternators, but just look at this. This is amazing. In fact, let me increase the exposure here so you can get a better view of what it actually looks like, and wow, that's a lot of detail. You've got the dashboard with all the blips and stuff on it, you've got the steering wheel, you've got the seats, and you've got even a few that are like folded over in the back. And I'd be remiss if I didn't even mention the fact that, well, the windscreen folds over. I don't usually get on about these lazy eyebrow vehicle details, but wow, that is a really nice tribute to the original vehicle. Like, I am genuinely impressed with the level of detail on display here. From the fold-down hood to the reclining seats, it just all feels like a labor of love.
I mean, for Christ's sake, this Jeep mode is so realistic that I can basically envision myself driving in it.
Driving in my car, beep beep, obeying the law sure is neat. Hope nobody crashes into me. Oh my god, here comes a car. It's my lucky day. Plenty of time to get out of his way. Oh my god, I forgot I don't have a driver's license yet.
Okay, that's enough daydreaming for now, Ryan. Time to get back to the review.
Now then, I'll be frank with you. When I originally heard about a realistic interior on a Transformer, I was a little concerned, mostly because, as I understand it, that's kind of why the alternators line suffered and ultimately died. Additionally, I think my suspension of disbelief is aided by the lack of robot kibble on this vehicle mode. Like, it's a problem on every single figure, and from the underside, it's at its worst, but come on, this is so clean. Not to mention it also provides a bit of handy weapon storage, which is super creative. The realistic interior, as well as the clever weapon storage, seriously make me feel as though this is the child of classic speed and reveal the shield jazz. But ultimately, it's not a hindrance. But before I go on to cover why this realistic interior isn't a hindrance to the robot mode, let's do our size comparisons. Here is a Studio Series 57 Off-Road Bumblebee next to my last review, Kingdom Dinobot. My last Studio Series figure I reviewed, SS86 Cup. My next review, Reveal the Shield Jazz, Studio Series Car Dropkick, Classics Bumblebee, Studio Series Blitzwing, and a standard Kutama, standard can of sparkling water, and Broadside. So this vehicle mode is really nice. But what did they have to sacrifice in the transformation and the robot mode in order to get it this perfect? Not a lot. Now then, Bumblebee. Transform. And here we have robot mode, and boy, the transformation that got us here was incredibly fun. Which is honestly kind of a surprise. The reason why I don't talk about this line more often is because I just don't like their transformations most of the time. This is true of a lot of Studio Series figures, like Bone Crusher and KSI Boss, you know, the repaint of Nitro Zeus. I could not figure out that transformation, so returned it to the store the day I bought it. And with this in mind, I'd like to make an addendum to my Studio Series 86 Cup review and say that he got a higher score than he really deserved. The score he deserved was closer to a 5 out of 10 because it's just average. The transformation just isn't fun, and I was so caught up in thinking that it was like Kingdom Warpath's transformation, which I absolutely loved. However, Bumblebee's is fun, and it achieves just as much, if not more, screen accuracy in the robot mode than Cup's did. And all of that fun transformation results in a nice, clean, kibbly backpack. And by clean, I mean it doesn't really screw around with the silhouette at all. Oh, and the grille for the car folds behind the chest all nice and neat, which is one of the few instances of faux parts where I can't see any arguments against it as logical. I mean, just the accuracy of the robot mode is enough to push me back all the way to 2018 and to all those fond memories I have of watching the Bumblebee movie with my parents and my brother after Christmas, with each and every moment bringing a soft, warm feeling into my heart, like the scene where Blitzwing chokeholds Bumblebee. Oh, and the scene where Bumblebee ultimately killed Dropkick by wrapping him up in chains as he transformed.
Oh, harder, Daddy! Son!
Okay, now, let's do problems. Well, for starters, the shoulder wheels prevent me from giving the arm any backwards movement, and the backpack can also prevent backwards movement from the legs. The joint assembly for the neck and head is pretty dumb. Oh, and this box art is fucking unacceptable. It looks like a JPEG was just blown up in Photoshop and then it wasn't scaled up to match in terms of the resolution. Like, I am keenly aware that this is optobotomist levels of nitpicking, but honestly, as a graphic design student, seeing professional work this fucked up makes me angry. But yeah, most of my problems with this figure are articulation and parts based. Speaking of, that actually makes a pretty good segue into the articulation.
In robot mode, Bumblebee's head can look up on a hinge and rotate on a ball joint. His shoulders can move in any direction on a ball joint. His arm rotates at the bicep and bends 135 degrees at the elbow. His body can rotate at the waist, while his hips can move in any direction on a ball joint. His legs swivel at the hip and bend at the knee, and his feet can rotate, pivot and rock back and forth on a ball joint.
To be perfectly blunt, I'm a little disappointed with this figure on the articulation front. It feels like it's so clean, and yet the kibble restricts a lot of important movement, or at least movement that I consider to be important. Anyways, here's Studio Series Bumblebee next to Dinobot, Cup, Jazz, Dropkick, Classics B, Blitzwing, a standard Kutama, a standard can of sparkling water, and Broadside. Now, this is normally where I'd end discussion of the figure, but this time I think I've got something important that I'd like to end the review with. The design philosophy of this figure, and the Nightverse in general, and why it's great. Over the course of the review, you will have noticed that I have drawn many comparisons between this figure and the classics Bumblebee that was released in 2006. This is partially because I'm trying to foreshadow episode 99, but also because I feel as though they share a lot of ideological DNA. Classics Bumblebee is updating and streamlining the G1 Bumblebee character design, while the Nightverse Bumblebee is trying to update the character design from the Michael Bay movies. I feel as though this ultimately serves to highlight the greatest strength of the design philosophy behind not just the Nightverse designs, but also the designs of the Classics line, the Original Generations line, and Universe line from 2008, and basically everything that didn't rely super heavily on the G1 cartoon model. In the process of modernizing a character design, you have to consider more than just accuracy to a particular source. This is something that I consider to be mandatory to the process of redesigning a character, or literally anything. And a good example that isn't Transformers related is She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. And let me be clear, this argument is more based in character design than the actual shows, because I haven't seen the original She-Ra. In fact, to avoid wasting your time, because originally this rant was like 5 minutes long, I'm just going to show you a silhouetted group shot of characters. Tell me, whose silhouette belongs to who? Pretty difficult, huh? Now then, let's reintroduce some of the shading and line art. Now let's reintroduce the colors, and there. The point I'm trying to make here is that all of the body types in the original She-Ra show were incredibly similar because they were based off of dolls with incredibly similar body types. Heck, there wasn't even a great deal of variation in the skin color of the characters. When Noelle Stevenson and the crew working on She-Ra and the Princesses of Power came to redesigning the characters, I think they all realized that they had to make each character more distinctive, give each of them their own unique silhouette. And regardless if that character was originally designed in 1983 or 2005, the reboot/redesign needs to be fundamentally different in order to attract a new audience. A reboot or a redesign of a character will take what worked and was unique about the original character design and update the elements of it that won't appeal to a modern audience, such as the unrealistic body standards of a character design. But what's the point of me saying this? Heck, is it even fair to compare these two shows to one another? Yes, they're both cartoons from the 80s, made with the express purpose of selling toys to children. Oh, and each has a group of extremely toxic fans of the original show that love to defend it, and will shit on any reboot even when it's better than the original in every conceivable way possible.
Okay, let's get back to the point!
The point I'm making here is that the Nightverse and Classics designs were trying to update specific incarnations of a character for a modern audience. Because a redesign of a classic character shouldn't just say, I can do better, and then proceed to be utterly disrespectful to the source material, but at the same time, it really shouldn't try to emulate the animation model to a T. Mostly because children's animation in the 80s was particularly ugly, and also, when it comes to Transformers, it just doesn't result in a fun transformation whenever you try and push screen accuracy to its upper limits. Now, I'm not gonna say that you necessarily have to pander to old fans. I mean, just look at how successful the original Michael Bay movie was. But what you need to do fundamentally is take the elements of the design that worked and were, dare I say, charming about it, and then take everything that didn't work and update it so that it can appeal to a modern audience and draw in new fans to spend money. It's what the best Transformers shows did, especially animated, Prime, and the second and third season of Cyberverse. Anyways, rant over, time to get back to my final thoughts and score.
So overall, is Studio Series 57 Off-Road Bumblebee worth adding to your collection? Yes, absolutely. This figure has a stunning alternate mode, doesn't have a frustrating transformation like a lot of other Studio Series figures, and he's really fun. He's intriguing, he's engaging, and overall, I'm gonna score him with an 8.5 out of 10. It is an amazing figure, and if you don't have it in your collection, you're doing yourself a big disservice. And if you want to get on the aftermarket, well, good luck. But with that being said, this is Firebite27 over and out. And don't forget...
What is love? Baby, don't hurt me. Don't hurt me.